got it done. If you back them, you're celebrating. Football season may be over, but the action never stops.
Are you ready for some baseball?
At SportsGrid, we're always in the game. We bring you 24/7 betting insights, expert picks, and real-time analysis. Next big play is already in motion. Are you ready? It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching!
Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on Sport.
Let's roll. This is SportsRage. I am Gabriel Morency, the pimps, the players, the hustlers, the people that bust them, and everybody else in between. Let's do this thing. The Twisted Tuesday has begun. SportsGrid Radio and Television Network, Sirius XM, Channel 159. The madness has begun as well. It's not officially March Madness, but it sort of is. And let's get started on the college basketball hardwood. Joe Lunardi says that the BYU Cougars are still on the bubble right now. Joe Lunardi, at some point, it's hard to say, you know what? Well, you're not on the committee, bro. Right? Like I get it. These bracketologists, they're in a tough spot. There's 388 million teams to break down who's going to get to the tournament and stuff. But how the hell could BYU be on the bubble? They've been punching people in the mouth for the last month, and now they're on the road getting it done in a basketball game in which they were getting shut out for in the first 7 minutes. They didn't score. It was 5-0 after 6.5 minutes, this basketball game. Total 149.5. Not going to get there. And it was really low scoring for the first 10 minutes. It was literally, I think it was 7-3 after 10 minutes type of deal. Iowa State were up 7-3, but BYU have gone on a big-time run. BYU Cougars are now leading 33-24 at the half. You know what? The total has a puncher's chance, actually, because they started to score after the first 10-minute freeze of this game. So in-game total's 136.5 right now. We got a fun Big Ten game. That's right. It's a Big Ten game. Indiana and the Ducks. Hoosiers were on the bubble. They've been on the bubble. And, they can't take anything for granted right now. But I think the Hoosiers have done enough to get into the tournament as of all the bracketologists. They got the 10 seed, one of the 10 seeds right now. Nobody thought they were going to win this game, right? They beat Michigan State on the road. They beat Purdue. They've stepped up with some pretty big-time wins. If you're a team that's sort of on the bubble, you can't lose against teams that are worse than you. It's not too bad if you lose against someone that's better than you. They won't hold it against you. Indiana had a big game on Saturday in Seattle against the Washington Huskies, and they got it done. No one thought they were going to win this game, and now they wrap it up against Ohio State this weekend, and they got the Big Ten tournament. They're going to get in. but they're kind of playing with a little bit of house money tonight. They win this game, and it's big time for them. They lose, it's not really the end of the world. They've had a good week and a half or so, and they wrap up the season at home, and they should get the W against Ohio State. But we're on the Hoosiers plus 7 points. It was 6.5. We bought the half point up to 7. We're on the over 147 in this game. They're also at the half right now. The Ducks are up 35-32. Total is 144.5 right now. There's a college basketball game. Well, we got Arkansas and Vanderbilt right now. The Hogs are getting to 7.5. Total's 149.5. You got Wyoming and Fresno. The game I've got my eye on is SDSU and UNLV. It's coming up. That game tips off at like 11 o'clock Eastern, so we got time to get back to it and get your bets in. Listen, I'll admit, I'll put my hand up. I was wrong. Social distortion style. I was wrong. I thought that Nevada would beat UNLV, but that was a big-time win for the UNLV Running Rebels. And you can argue, and it's probably the right argument, that UNLV are playing their best basketball of the season right now. They're 5-1 in their last 6 basketball games. The tension is higher right now. They weren't very good before. They've gone on a little bit of a run right now. You got to tip your cap to them. But Nevada are one thing, SDSU are another. SDSU are also 5-1 in their last 6 basketball games. SDSU are also starting to dial it up a notch. And SDSU do have that pedigree. They're like 7-3 straight up the last 10 times they played. Like historically, SDSU have owned UNLV. But the Rebs have beaten them 2 of the last 3 times they played. So I got to point that out. But I like the Aztecs in this game. Give me San Diego State. If UNLV beats me again, I'm going to stop messing with UNLV. If UNLV beats me again, then you know what? I'll bet on UNLV in the Mountain West Conference tournament. All right. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But we'll go with the Aztecs. NBA basketball. We bet some NHL tonight. Where we bet a bunch of college basketball. NBA. I sort of wait. I like the late night games seemingly more. There was nothing that really jumped off the screen at me earlier in the evening tonight in the association. But as far as the late card is concerned, you have the Clippers and the Phoenix Suns. Clippers are a good team. They never really have everybody. The Clippers haven't had the best week. Kawhi Leonard, though, I think from a positive standpoint, Kawhi looks good. And, he's playing. Right? I mean, he's been playing more consistently lately. They haven't been getting W's, but they're due for a win tonight. And the Phoenix Suns are a train wreck. This team is a complete mess right now. The Phoenix Suns are a team that, they can't wait for the season to be over. Yet, with that being stated, it doesn't mean they're going to get killed, right? It means that they're kind of loose and they're just going to take shots and whatever happens, happens. But this is a big game for the Clippers to get back on track tonight. And I don't trust the Phoenix Suns. It's 3 right now. It's popped up to 3.5 at some spots. You can money line it like minus 145. Could be a close game, but I think the Clippers get it done. We'll get into the Pelicans and the Lakers. The Lakers just keep rolling. They've been getting it done. You got to give credit. And they're better than I thought they were going to be. I thought that they would have defensive issues with this lineup, but to their credit, even Luka Doncic, you notice Luka, he's doing that Hollywood celebrity Ozempic or something like that. He's lost a lot of weight pretty quickly. And another thing is, too, you call someone out like that, and the other team, and speaking of the Mavericks, like, can it become any bit of a bigger disaster? Now Kyrie is out. AD is out. They're getting blown out. Fans are leaving in droves. And, they raised season ticket prices. It's amazing. And, of course, this wouldn't have happened under Mark Cuban's watch, but I don't really get why Mark Cuban sold the team, and who he sold the team to is like kind of surprising. But it goes to show that politics and money are 2 completely different things. Because he sold the team to a family that are on the complete opposite spectrum of his political view, and his family is blowing this freaking team up pretty fast. Like honestly, I think they might make a movie like Major League. Like the classic baseball movie about the Dallas Mavericks. There's a secret, like, we're trying to secretly tank and we're going to move the team to Vegas and nobody will care because we're going to be so bad after we do it. I think it was Chandler Parsons who said it, former NBA player, who said, you know what? not re-signing Jalen Brunson might be even as stupid as trading Luka Doncic. Like, if you look back too, like at their players, like, yeah, you guys did have Kristaps Porzingis, although him and Luka didn't really get along on the court. So we'll get into we got the Lakers and the Pels. Dave Delano's going to step up and in tonight. McInnes is out. McInnes is a scratch. I think McInnes, too, took a shot at LeBron James for not playing in the All-Star game last week, and now McInnes stiffs up tonight. See, you know, hey, got to be careful. You call people out. So McInnes is out. Delano is in. Dave Delano steps up and in. We've got someone that's been on SportsRage before. It's been a long time. Like, I don't know, I'll ask him, but like maybe 10 years, 15 years, or I don't know how many years it's been. We speak online sometimes, but the number one sports betting instigator in the business, Rob Pizzola, will step up and join us tonight. A lot of feuds going on. Sports betting. We'll get to the bottom of it with Pizzola. We got Rick Saratella in house. We got Mo Khan. We got the Rachel Red at Cam Stewart. Let's roll.
So my team didn't win this weekend, but I still did with this app that's taking over the game. Sports Millions Pick'em lets you make quick and easy predictions. Pick your favorite players, go higher or lower, and you can still win big even if your team loses. Plus, the multiplier is insane. With just a few picks, you can win big money. So get on it. They've got a welcome bonus to help you start off your winning streak.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching!
Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What?
How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Let's roll. This is SportsRage. I am Morency. SportsGrid Radio and Television Network, Sirius XM Channel 159. We've got a busy late night of basketball tonight. There is a bunch of stuff going on in the association games. Mid-fourth, coming to an end. As I stated, I did jump in on the LA Clippers to beat the Phoenix Suns tonight, 4-2 Suns. That game has just gotten started. Spurs are blowing out the Nets by 23, 93. I tell you what, Castle's a badass, and I love this kid out of UConn. I was hoping the Raptors would get Castle, but Castle's really starting to dial it up a notch Wemby, of course, is out. You got the De'Aaron Fox there. Next year, everything should be fine with Wembanyama. And I think next year, the San Antonio Spurs, like, this is where it's like, all right, you got to make the playoffs now in year 3 of Wembanyama. They weren't going to make the playoffs this year, even though he didn't get hurt. T-Wolves are smoking the Sixers. Nick Nurse's living hell continues. We got the Pels and the Lakers coming up. College basketball, Texas Longhorns, I swear to God, every game these guys play, man, like goes to overtime. 77-75 in overtime at Mississippi State right now with 2.5 left. The Aggies are beating Auburn. And I didn't bet this game, but I did feel like it was a trap spot for the Auburn Tigers late in the season. We're the number 1 team in the country. You got the SEC Conference Tournament coming up. You got March Madness coming up. There's going to be a flat spot for teams, and this might be it for them. I'm not so sure they come back. A&M are -1.5 right now. I did bet on BYU plus the points, and BYU are now up by 15. Unbelievable, considering they were getting shut out for the first 7 minutes of the game. 39-24. BYU right now, they're outscoring Iowa State 6-0 to start the second half, and that game is at Iowa State. And the second half just started of the Ducks and the Hoosiers, 37-35 right now for the Ducks. We're on the Hoosiers plus the points and the over in that basketball game. I got over 147. In game is 144.5 right now. Let's bring in Dave Delano and Cam Stewart in the house. Delano, Get Sports Strong. Good to see you, Dave. How you doing tonight?
Doing great. Good to be here. This is one of my favorite times of the year, right before Major League Baseball and right before the tournament. These next 3 weeks of college basketball are my favorites. Once we start to narrow it down into Sweet 16, it gets tighter, but I love conference tournament time.
Yeah, conference tournament time is awesome. And even now, it's just sort of, everything just sort of means a little bit more for some teams out there. And, you just know there's just going to be basketball on all the time. For the next month. All right, we got NHL hockey too. We got a game coming up that I don't really have I don't have a strong opinion on, really. With the Minnesota Wild, actually, and the Kraken have dropped the puck. Cam, Wild and Kraken still scoreless right now. Who are you on in this game?
Hitting the crack pipe, Gabe, with Seattle, -120. I don't love this game either. Small play, just be a degenerate and have some action on the last hockey game. Shocking right now, Gabe. A lot of parlay busters right now. Edmonton was a huge favorite against Anaheim. Anaheim up 4-1 almost midway through the second period. They chased Calvin Pickard in this game. Stu Skinner in net for the Oilers now. This team is really reeling. After the Four Nations, Gabe, they've just been a team that's flat, and they can't seem to get it together.
No, they've had a lot of problems since the Four Nations. You keep waiting for them to sort of flick that switch and get back on track. This has been a couple of weeks now, but there's been a fallout from that tournament, right? And it seems like almost like a ton of players that played on the U.S. team are hurt, got hurt in the tournament and are still hurt. And you've got the fallout with the anthem stuff, and players are getting upset now. I brought that up, but we can get to that later. Dave, let me ask you, college basketball, a couple of big time games right now. Indiana, I'd say they're still on the bubble. I think they're in. And people didn't expect them to win this game tonight. So they're kind of playing with house money. Like, the committee's not going to hold them against them if they lose at the Ducks. They were getting 6.5. I've been riding the Hoosiers for the last 3 weeks or so. And they're down by 2 right now. And we got San Diego State and UNLV coming up tonight. Anything you like in college basketball, Dave?
Well, right now I know it just tipped off, but I like the over the total in that game between Arkansas and Vanderbilt. It was at 149.5. That one just tipped off. That's the last one that I have action on. This I believe that Indiana's in as well, and Oregon's been playing fantastic. So regardless of what happens in this game, I see that they're down 4 right now. I think that unless the Hoosiers just completely go in the tank, and there's not really even much time to do that in these last few games, including the conference tournament, I think that they're going to be in. Even if they lose to Oregon, the way that the Ducks have been playing, I think that they're playing their way in the tournament as well. There's really no shame in losing, especially going on the road. Like you said, I don't think anybody's expecting Indiana to win this game. So this is really have nothing to lose in this situation, but I do like I think the Hoosiers are in as well. I agree with you on that one.
And you know what I like, about the Hoosiers in a spot like this tonight? A lot of people said, they'll beat Washington, but they're going to, they'll probably get killed in Eugene against the Ducks. And now they wrap up their season on Sunday against Ohio State back in Bloomington, a home game for them. But the thing is, the committee is watching every possession of these teams. Like, they really do. Like, it's not like they casually just, look at the box scores and, put these brackets together. They're watching every possession. It's almost like like when you're a kid and your parents give you the old Santa Claus naughty or nice list and you believe it, right? Like, he's always watching, and the committee are, right? So, like, if there's another team that they're battling with and one team quits all the time when they're down by 12 and gets rolled over and says, oh, we're done, and another team fights, like, they're watching. So I like these teams as underdogs at this time of the year. The teams are on the bubble, especially if they're getting points. Doesn't mean they're going to win a game because pressure could get to them, but when they're getting points, they're not going to tap out if they're down 8 or 10 or something, because the coach is aware everybody's watching them. Like, every game, every result, every possession, really, just really matters. So if we got a 45-42 game there, I went bigger on the over, 147. It's 149.5 in game right now. You got New Mexico and Nevada. We got all kinds of college basketball games going on. Cam, you got a college basketball pick for us?
I'm with you, Gabe. I'm on Indiana all the way in that spot there, and I like Virginia. They're pulling away, but give me UNLV too. I'll take a shot with the Rebels again.
Brady Tkachuk saying that if his brother did miss that overtime period against Canada like we saw him do, it must be serious out there. And of course, Brady Tkachuk, not a doctor, but you've got to wonder the status of Matthew Tkachuk and what we're going to find out.
Game time for all of these teams and all these players that were, teammates. Now they're facing off against each other. Now they're back to being teammates, whatever it might be. Like, it's time to get things rolling back in the right direction.
HL today, only on SportsGrid.
We know the Knicks are talented. They're 37-20. It's not a bad season by any stretch. They're just not beating the upper echelon team.
This is the Knicks team right now. They're a very good team. And I'm a Knicks fan. You can't look at there and say, this team can win a championship. They're not good enough. They're not good enough defensively. Are we the New York Knicks or are we the New York Fugazis? Just forget about it.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
You have Duke the 1, Houston the 2. They're the 2 best defensive teams in the country. I want to see them play for the right to go to the Final Four because I think that would be a kick-ass game.
Duke is really great on both ends of the floor. They can score and they can defend, and that's why they win by big numbers all the time, because they're really good on both ends of the floor. I don't trust Houston's offense.
Pharrell coast to coast, only on SportsGrid. The Eagles got it done. If you back them, you're celebrating. Football season may be over, but the action never stops.
Are you ready for some baseball?
At SportsGrid, we're always in the game. We bring you 24/7 betting insights, expert picks, and real-time analysis. Next big play is already in motion. Are you ready? It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Let's roll. This is SportsRage. I am Morency. The pitch, the players, the hustlers, the people, the bust them, and everybody else in between. BYU and Iowa State going head to head. Although I currently have it on the Montana's Briar right now. Saskatchewan's leading Saskatchewan K team. Like, I just have multiple teams. So the SK/K are taking on Team Ontario, and there's a million teams Like, I swear to God, I almost have fun watching this curling tournament, Cam, just to like figure out like what the teams are. I'm like
the hyphenations, like Manitoba slash C.
What the hell is this? Like,
yeah, I know. I just actually
like there's one here, AB 7. It's like, I guess that's Alberta 7. Like, I don't know. Like, there's multiple. Like, there's a lot of them. Last night I was like NWO. I was like, oh yeah, Northern Ontario. Like, they got at all. Like, Northern Ontario's got a team. Ontario's so big, it's split up.
Yep.
SK.
It's so confusing, though, because before game would be provinces. Now they have the hyphen in the name. So I'm like, ooh, it's Carruthers and this guy. And then K.
Because there's too many teams for the provinces. The provinces are too big. So they're like,
I don't like
think about it, Kim.
Yeah.
If you're slinging rocks in Toronto, you're far away from someone slinging rocks in Thunder Bay. You got to go head to head. It's not fair. Like, you know what I mean?
I get it. No, that's why you have a Northern Ontario and an Ontario, right?
And then was like curling, huh?
Dave's like, look at these psychos.
I'm not getting involved in that.
The best is we tried to curling teasers, Dave. Gabe's like, can I get 3.5 rocks? I'm like, that's a lot of rocks, man. It's curling. Anyway, in Canada, it's pretty popular. Old people like it.
It's pretty big everywhere. It's big in Europe too. Curling's popularity has grown.
True.
There's been in-game betting for this tournament, but there isn't right now. So like Dave Delano said,
are there any good sites for research on analytics and stuff for curling? And they keep numbers against the rock.
They actually do. They have skip numbers, like takeout numbers. They do it all, man. They have statistics for everything, Dave. It's crazy.
I would imagine. Yeah, but I don't know of any curling betting sites, Dave. Like I can send you to. like with But I'm sure in some the covers.com chat room, I'm sure there's like a thread about it. Like, actually who does know? It's like our guy, Hustler, Andrew Patterson, our boy Hustler, the talk show host, Peg. He's the king of this stuff. Like, he actually has, like, handicappers on talking curling, and these guys laid 3.5 rocks. And I just like that it's called rocks, Dave. Like, you know what I mean? Instead of points, like you tell the bookie, give me 2.5 rocks plus 2.5 rocks. Because they're throwing rocks. Like, so it's like Cam said, I wanted a curling teaser. I was like, I take these guys if I get like plus 5.5 rocks.
That's rocks.
But 2.5 is not enough. So I wanted to tease it. I was like, you got a curling teaser? Like, I told him you should. If you don't, like, you guys should get curling teasers going. But college basketball, fun time right now. Like I said, all these Texas games, David, you're in Texas. Longhorns 82-81 right now. Mississippi State. All their games are close.
Yeah, all of them are close in these games. And one I was going to point out that you had a good call earlier. I know you were mentioning a lot of these teams getting points on the road. Props off to you for taking BYU. That was a situation today, I'll say. I did not see this coming against Iowa State. I mean, you got an Iowa State team, second best defensive team, in the country when they're at home and rated as the 5th best home team in the country overall. So I guess you're probably onto something with that. There's going to be definitely a lot of opportunities to take these teams on the getting points on the road. And like you've mentioned, even with a lot of these Texas teams, a lot of these games are close. So, if you want a home team, you're really going to have to believe in them pretty strong.
The thing with BYU is they're not just that they win. I know the game against Arizona was close, but they're really just punching teams in the mouth, and very good teams. They've been on a real roll. Hell, they're up by 17 right now, BYU. They're up 50-33, and they were getting shut out in the first 7 minutes. Like, they couldn't score. And it was like 5, but Iowa State really couldn't either. It was like 5-0, 7-3. And then
that
boom.
Line close that. Iowa State 8.5? They were 8.5 point favorite in that game. That's crazy.
8.5. But wow. I think BYU too, like you said, guys and Dave, like, they're not getting respected enough. Right? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, they go in Arizona, they win. They smash Arizona State. And I said it at the time. Teams are always like looking for things to inspire them, right? So number one, they're inspired by Lenardi talking all the time, how they're still on the bubble, even though they're smashing teams. I don't know how they're going to be ranked 23 in the country and supposedly be on the bubble. And the other thing was the Arizona anti-Mormon chants and stuff. You'll notice they've killed teams since then. That's just going to unite them and bring them together.
Brady Tkachuk saying that if his brother did miss that overtime period against Canada like we saw him do, it must be serious out there. And of course, Brady Tkachuk, not a doctor, but you've got to wonder the status of Matthew Tkachuk and what we're going to find out.
Game time for all of these teams and all these players that were, teammates. Now they're facing off against each other. Now they're back to being teammates, whatever it might be. Like, it's time to get things rolling back in the right direction.
HL today, only on SportsGrid.
We know the Knicks are talented. They're 37-20. It's not a bad season by any stretch. They're just not being the upper echelon team.
This is the Knicks team right now. They're a very good team. And I'm a Knicks fan. You can't look at there and say, this team can win a championship. They're not good enough. They're not good enough defensively. Are we the New York Knicks or are we the New York Fugazis? Just forget about it.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
You have Duke the 1, Houston the 2. They're the two best defensive teams in the country. I want to see them play for the right to go to the Final Four because I think that would be a kick-ass game.
Duke is really great on both ends of the floor. They can score and they can defend, and that's why they win by big numbers all the time, because they're really good on both ends of the floor. I don't trust Houston's offense.
Pharrell coast to coast, only on SportsGrid. The Eagles got it done. If you back them, you're celebrating. Football season may be over, but the action never stops.
Are you ready for some baseball?
At SportsGrid, we're always in the game. We bring you 24/7 betting insights, expert picks, and real-time analysis. Next big play is already in motion. Are you ready? It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Let's roll. This is SportsRage. I'm Morency. So, BYU now up 54-33. Like I said, every time we look, they're up by more. Just absolutely smashing Iowa State tonight. And listen, Auburn and Texas A&M, Dave, what do you think about this one? I thought it was a trap. I've been pretty selective with my betting, more selective than I normally am. I sort of look at the board of each sport, and I go with what, I don't force it. I've thought sometimes on games, but I've sort of learned. I used to get mad and if I don't bet it, it's going to win. I've sort of learned to okay, sometimes you're not going to bet something and it's going to win. You're much better at it, Dave. You're more disciplined. You bet much less games, right? I say that I'm disciplined and I still had 12 bets tonight or something like that, I think. But this is one game I left on the table. But what do you think about it now? With Auburn and A&M. A&M are laying 3.5 right now with 15 minutes left. And they're up by 6. You think Auburn comes back, or you think they're going to lose this one?
I actually think Auburn's going to come back and win this game. Auburn, right now, Texas A&M obviously has more on the line. You look at Auburn, teams like Duke, Houston, they're pretty much going to be number 1 seeds. So, and everyone's giving them their best shot. I think that the 6-point margin at this point would be a good time to jump in on Auburn. But yeah, you're right. At this point of the year, one of the things I like about it is I sometimes like looking at those obsolete games a little bit more. Now, the thing with those obsolete games, the maximums that you can put up, they have more minimums, so a lot of people like to go with the more high profile games. But there's a reason that they'll let you bet more on those top 10, top 25 games as well. But as for this one, I think that Auburn's going to come back and get the win.
One that pissed me off, too, it bothers me I didn't bet it, against Gottlieb's Green Bay Phoenix team. I blame Sean Higgs. Last night, he's like, they lose all the time, but they cover. He's like, they're going to cover this number. I'm like, no, they're not. They're going to get killed by Oakland.
List of real scrubs.
96-72, the Oakland Golden Grizzlies step up. But listen, Gottlieb, to his credit, they were, the season comes to an end for them. I think they ended up 14-17 against the spread. So despite being 14 and 18, whatever, despite being 4-28 straight up, they did cover half the time, but not today. Dave, do you have any of these lower tier Horizon, ASUN Conference? You have any futures for any of these tournaments?
Well, a couple that I was looking at, and when you look at these futures, if you are going to do it, I think it's only really worth doing a long shot. Like, for example, I mean, the Southland Conference, I think that McNeese is going to win that easily, but they're minus a 500, so you really don't want to get involved in something like that. I think that in the Ohio Valley Conference, Tennessee State at plus 400 to win that conference is a good play. They did lose to the top two teams in the conference twice, but Southeast Missouri, who's the top seed in that conference, they lost to them 2 times by 2 points. So, I think at plus 400, that's a good play. And with some of these conference tournaments like that, you want to try to find some value. I heard you guys talking about the the West Coast Conference. Not really this, because of the Zags, it's not the smallest conference, but I think that St. Mary's, plus, and I know they beat the Zags twice already, but I think that the St. Mary's team, the way they play defense, they've got size, a lot of versatility. I think at plus 140, there's still a solid play there. And then looking over at the Big Sky, I like Northern Colorado plus 180. So as far as some of the smaller conferences that are up on the board right now that I actually see some value in beyond the favorite, I'd say probably Northern Colorado plus 180 and Tennessee State plus 400 in the Ohio Valley.
Yeah, the West Coast Conference tournament is going to be interesting, as Dave stated. And you look at Gonzaga, they seem to have dialed it up a notch over the last, since the St. Mary's loss. They've been murdering teams. They're on a collision course. But if there's one team in here, Santa Clara can score, right? And we saw Santa Clara hang around with Gonzaga last week or 2 weeks, a week and a half ago, whatever, until they didn't, right? And then with like 10 minutes left, they just hit the wall. I would say the Dons at 20. Yeah, the Dons at 25. And Oregon State, too. The Beavers are scrappy, right? I think the Beavers at 50-1. I don't think they have enough juice to make it all the way to the final, but it's a pretty big number, guys. This ain't the NCAA tournament. There's only a few teams. You got to win a couple of games. So I would say, the Beavers, man, at 50-1, not crazy, actually. And you just sort of hope to get a couple of games out of it. Dave, are you buying in right now? I was watching Duke play last night, and it's unbelievable, these guys. They're winning by, 35 points, 25 points. They're setting records for the Duke Blue Devils. As far as margin of victory is concerned, they're just smoking teams right now. I thought it was kind of crazy, and I got it that they wanted to have they wanted to take him out of the game on his own and get the applause and all that. But you didn't need to wait until 3 minutes to do it with Cooper Flagg. It's like, you know what? You guys are winning by 39 points. I think you're comfortable. You could take Flagg out of the game right now. But I'm buying in that, like, if Duke played Auburn, I would take Duke head-to-head right now in a championship game. Do you agree or disagree that Duke are the best team in the country right now?
I do agree, and I'm not a Duke fan by any stretch of the imagination, but it's scary how good these guys are. I mean, they're a lot younger than a lot of these other teams that have had transfers or guys now. They're their third, fourth, fifth year in college. A lot of
three
young
freshmen
kids
on the floor. Yeah,
but they're legit NBA talent, and you're seeing a lot of these games, these 20-point plus spreads, and they're just covering them no problem. I would not be surprised, though, to see them slip up in the ACC tournament. We'll see how those matchups are. I can almost see Clemson winning the conference tournament and then Duke going in and winning the whole thing. I definitely see them going to the Final Four. And a team that we've talked about a lot on here, like Houston, for example, versus Duke. Houston does so many things right. They're so tough. They play great defense. And as many things as I love about Houston, it's game after game, the other team seems to still be there in those final 3 or 4 minutes. And I wonder if that's going to catch up with them. Duke has not been doing that. They've not been playing around. When they get up on you at halftime, if they're up by 10, they're looking to get up 20. They're looking to get up 30. You don't see a lot of teams where it's a 12-point game and they're letting teams hang around. So hats off to them. And yes, right now I would say Duke's the best team in the country.
And I would say, too, as well with the Houston Cougars, you notice in close games, guys, I brought it up the other night, Cam. Well, I guess it was last night watching them. They miss free throws a lot, Dave, late in games, right? Yeah. It doesn't seem like the end of the world at the time because they win the game, right? But it's like All right, you know what? You guys are only up by 4 with 2 minutes left, but you should be up by 8 because you keep bricking these free throws. And you get into the NCAA tournament, as you go on, you will find yourself in a close game. Just point blank. Like, you're going to find yourself in a tied game with 2 minutes left, and you got to be able to hit free throws, right? And if you're not hitting the free throws during the season, I don't have a lot of confidence you're going to suddenly hit them during the tournament.
You're right, Gabe.
You're
And
right.
just
I mean, those things.
talking about Duke, too. How many times they score 100?
Turnover.
Right, Dave? Like, that. The thing about Duke is, look what they're doing to teams, Gabe. They're annihilating them. Like, they're 106 points, over 100 points, over 90 points. Like, their offense is unstoppable. They can kind of clamp down. Like, I've never seen a Duke, like, even when they were like the popular team, I always found a flaw with them. I don't know. This team looks different. Like, I'm with Delano. I think Duke's, like, the best team going. Like, I think they beat Auburn down.
Dave, Get Sports Strong on Twitter X. Where else can people find you? I guess Hit the Pick, Get Sports Strong. What do you got going on, Dave? Where can people find you daily?
Yeah, you can find me over on hitthepick.com, getsportstrong.com, and as you mentioned, over on X, Twitter, whatever we want to call it, at Get Sports Strong over there.
Excellent stuff, Dave. Always a pleasure, my man. I'll send you a message later. I'll let you know what happened with Ontario and Saskatchewan in the curling tournament.
Curling updates.
Okay.
Dave.
I have to be prepared next time. I have some curling futures for you.
No, you know what? I won't hold it. I won't hold it against you until next winter. We got the Winter Olympics next year. That's when we'll all pretend to be experts in sports that we don't know anything about.
Brady Tkachuk saying that if his brother did miss that overtime period against Canada like we saw him do, it must be serious out there. And of course, Brady Tkachuk, not a doctor, but you've got to wonder the status of Matthew Tkachuk and what we're going to find out.
Game time for all of these teams and all these players that were, teammates. Now they're facing off against each other. Now they're back to being teammates, whatever it might be. Like, it's time to get things rolling back in the right direction.
HL today, only on SportsGrid.
We know the Knicks are talented. They're 37-20. It's not a bad season by any stretch. They're just not beating the upper echelon team.
This is the Knicks team right now. They're a very good team. And I'm a Knicks fan. You can't look at there and say, this team can win a championship. They're not good enough. They're not good enough defensively. Are we the New York Knicks or are we the New York Fugazis? Just forget about it.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
You have Duke the 1, Houston the 2. They're the 2 best defensive teams in the country. I want to see them play for the right to go to the Final Four because I think that would be a kick-ass game.
Duke is really great on both ends of the floor. They can score and they can defend, and that's why they win by big numbers all the time, because they're really good on both ends of the floor. I don't trust Houston's offense.
Pharrell coast to coast, only on SportsGrid. The Eagles got it done. If you back them, you're celebrating. Football season may be over, but the action never stops.
Are you ready for some baseball?
At SportsGrid, we're always in the game. We bring you 24/7 betting insights, expert picks, and real-time analysis. Next big play is already in motion. Are you ready? It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Let's roll. This is SportsRage. I'm Morency. The Twisted Tuesday continues. We got a full house tonight. Rick Saratella will join us to wrap up the combine. We'll take a look at the odds. They're on the board right now for the National Football League draft. Our boy Mo Khan steps up and in a little bit later on. Thanks to Dave Delano for joining us. But we kick it old school tonight, and we bring in the number one, I would say, I don't know if instigator, I guess judge, jury, and executioner of sports betting on X. Rob Pizzola, who will tell you what you're doing wrong. Rob, good to see you. Thanks for joining us on The Rage. It's been a long time. And I said before, you've been on Sports Rage before, but is this the first time since like the Score hardcore sports radio type of days, or like how long has it been since we've been on a show together?
So it's been a while, but there was a road rage you did, Gabe. I want to say maybe 7 or 8 years ago that I was at. It was a Toronto-based one, but I was there. That would have been the last time I was on with you guys, but I still listen every now and then. Obviously, big fans of both of yours. And now all this, like, you call me an instigator. I say agitator. Agitator is what I like to mix it up, stir it up. I do shows with Cam still over on Mayo Media, and I like to dig a little bit. Every now and then I hear something, I poke a little bit, prod the bear. That's just me by nature. And what's happening with these Twitter spaces nowadays, it's like I'm like in my zone. I'm in my element with what's going on in the space nowadays.
It seems to be like a nightly thing. Yet I always wonder, like, how long can people keep these feuds up? And I don't have a problem with it, but my deal is everybody always buddies up after the fact. I like that you don't, at least. Yeah. Like, people will talk smack before. They'll get on, and then they won't say anything to each other after. And then they just sort of move on after, and then they passively aggressively talk smack again after. Do you see this a lot, Rob?
All the time. Like, people try to butter each other up, right? And you do see it happen in the industry. Like, you get two people who are going at it with one another, and then like half an hour later, like these guys are threatening each other's lives. Half an hour later, they're all friends. Everything's good. Or, someone else has come in and they've caused a stir that's even bigger.
That's what I don't like. Like, you remember in the old days, and we've been doing this forever, there used to be the ticker scroll on the screen or whatnot, and I could handle that Morency sucks, fade him, or whatnot. Yeah. Yep. But now we're in an era where, like, Rob, I see these people, they start posting pictures of each other's houses and stuff. This is where this person lives. Look at the dump that it is. He says he's a high roller. He rents. And it's like, this is his sister. They it's called doxing. Yeah, no, he rents, Cap. All right, this guy can't be a good capper. He rents. It's like, what the hell does that mean? He rents. Hey, if some guy takes a picture, you know what I'm saying, though, Rob? Like, people take it too far and they get very personal. Like, I don't mind, like, even a smack talk personal, but, like, you know what I mean? You get into this stuff. Next thing you know, your sister, your address is posted online.
Yeah, I think with this community of people, everybody kind of knows what's off limits. And doxing, like, you shouldn't do that to people. You shouldn't reveal, like, their family tree and where they live and what their job is. Like, people are actually, one guy got another guy fired by calling into his workplace and saying, listen back to the, like, there's some insane people out there. But I will say the community comes together kind of against that type of stuff. Like, it's like, okay, now you've gone too far. You can make fun of each other. You can do this and that. Don't dox people, this and that. The shock value is certainly there. I mean, like, this is the Jerry Springer type of stuff, but it's just happening on gambling Twitter, right? There's a high level of entertainment value, shock value. But the most important thing is that there's memorable characters, Gabe. Like, there's so many crazy characters out there that they just become,
I get
like,
it.
Yeah.
See, I thought at first, I'm like, man, these guys are all losers. They should just be, if they were really high, they would just be betting, right? And like, they're all, what are you wasting your time for? But then I thought back to like Sports Rage and my old school cage calls and the callers going head to head. This is just the new version of it, right? People aren't on the phone. But one thing I'll say about the Twitter space is a lot of these people like it because they don't want to show their face, right? So that's the one thing that I'm like, show your face. Like, you all talk with the audio, but nobody wants put their face behind it. But I can't lie. I don't listen to the Twitter space. I got my thing going, but I see your tweets, and Feinberg is right in the middle of this stuff all the time. And I get a good laugh out of it, like out of some of the things that sometimes I want to post something like, I don't want to get dragged in to this. But there's been a couple of things, Rob, that I had to get your take on in the sports betting world. And number one, even though you've already met us, how much would you pay to hang in a cabana with me and Cam to get drunk for a day?
You know what? Because I haven't done it in so long, I would love, like, every now and then, it's really weird to say this, but working with you two guys, like, those were the best years of my life. I can never replicate those years when I was in my early 20s. Where we would be in Vegas together. I'm like, all right, good night, guys. I'm going to bed. 3 hours later, Gabe's knocking on my door. We're going bowling. Get dressed. Let's go.
I remember. I actually remember that. I remember knocking on your door once in Vegas. Yeah. And you answered the door in like the hotel bathrobe.
Yeah, he's in his
And
bathrobe.
you were like,
Hey,
and you looked
are you
at me and
okay?
you said, "Did you lose all your money? Do you need to borrow money?" And I was like, "No." And I'm all lit up, all wired, like 4 in the morning. I'm like, "We're going bowling. You want to come bowling?" He's like, "No, I don't." And closes the door.
It's just amazing though, too, Gabe. Like we were doing that gambling stuff, think about like 2 decades ago. And now you look at like the change of like we were just doing that stuff and it was like normal. And now you're looking at the space going, there's so many people in it. It's nuts, man. Like we were before. Remember guys used to say, "Oh, I don't want to get hired for jobs because we gamble." The same people will call you and say, "Hey man, you want to do a gambling show?" Which is kind of something that pisses
Crazy.
me off.
Full circle.
Yeah.
Full circle.
Yeah, it has. It has.
Oh yeah, the business has exploded.
Yeah.
From years ago. And listen, it's only into year 7 now. I think that 6.5 or 7 that it's actually in this new modern legalization world. All right, so on the other side, I'm going to get Pizzola's take. We get Cam's take, but I look forward to Rob, judge, jury, and executioner. Are all touts losers? I guess it's the number one question that's been online that even Paul Bovey said everybody, and I saw, it upset some handicappers for real. We'll discuss Steve Fezzik's offer to take you out for dinner, and Rob Pizzola has the same offer, but you got to show a $50,000 betting. You got to, and he's going to take you out to the keg, 1 drink minimum, and he's going to talk about himself for 4 hours.
Brady Tkachuk saying that if his brother did miss that overtime period against Canada like we saw him do, it must be serious out there. And of course, Brady Tkachuk, not a doctor, but you've got to wonder the status of Matthew Tkachuk and what we're going to find out.
Game time for all of these teams and all these players that were, teammates. Now they're facing off against each other. Now they're back to being teammates, whatever it might be. It's time to get things rolling back in the right direction.
HL today, only on SportsGrid.
We know the Knicks are talented. They're 37-20. It's not a bad season by any stretch. They're just not being the upper echelon team.
This is the Knicks team right now. They're a very good team. And I'm a Knicks fan. You can't look at there and say, this team can win a championship. They're not good enough. They're not good enough defensively. Are we the New York Knicks or are we the New York Fugazis? Just forget about it.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
You have Duke the 1, Houston the 2. They're the 2 best defensive teams in the country. I want to see them play for the right to go to the Final Four because I think that would be a kick-ass game.
Duke is really great on both ends of the floor. They can score and they can defend, and that's why they win by big numbers all the time, because they're really good on both ends of the floor. I don't trust Houston's offense.
Pharrell coast to coast, only on SportsGrid. The Eagles got it done. If you back them, you're celebrating. Football season may be over, but the action never stops.
Are you ready for some baseball?
At SportsGrid, we're always in the game. We bring you 24/7 betting insights, expert picks, and real-time analysis. Next big play is already in motion. Are you ready? It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
All right, let's roll. This is Sports Rage. I am Gabriel Morency, SportsGrid Radio and Television Network, Sirius XM Channel 159. Rob Pizzola and the House Cam Stewart with us. So we're just talking some sports betting themes and feuds online, or debates, I should say. We got a couple of picks from Rob moving forward. I want to throw a couple of questions at him. But as far as some of the hot topics online, Spanky Odds started a big thread. And there was a big pushback, actually, And it seemed like people were pro tout, actually, more so. Like, what do you care if people sell picks? And the tweet was, Cam, that all touts are frauds. If they were good gamblers, they wouldn't have to sell picks. Now, I understand part of that in a sense, you know what I mean, in its essence, but at the same point in time, there are a lot of people that are very good at what they do, and they sell picks. Like, Paul Bovey's a good example.
I agree.
I mean, Paul Bovey has picks on Vegas Insider or whatnot. Like, he doesn't tout it. He doesn't push it. And he bets, and he's winning on his own. But I understand, too, and there's other people out there, guys, that are touts that don't even bet in real life. They're just giving you picks. Like, and they're trying to make money that way. What was your take, Rob, on that debate?
So Spanky's a good friend of mine. I think he takes it to one extreme, right? Because I personally think that there are touts out there that will provide value to their clients. Like, I'm not a all touts are scum type of guy. I think touts need to be transparent with their audiences. You get too much like malpractice, so to speak, with people who don't want to post records and stuff like that. But I think it's a very safe message to deliver to people to just say, don't buy picks. Because for the most part, the average consumer can't tell who are the good guys and who are the bad guys that are selling picks. They won't know until they actually buy and they lose. So I think it's just safer to say, don't buy picks, bet stuff yourself. That's not to say there aren't people out there that don't provide value, but finding those people are really hard to do. I don't know Paul Bovey. I can't speak on his behalf, but there are people that win out there. The problem is they release picks that also like move the entire market. So if they send out an NFL game at -3, well, maybe the first 10 guys that get the pick, they can bet it and bet -3, but then everyone else is stuck with -3.5. So a lot of these touts, they win. They're winning bettors. Can they actually pass that value on to the client, though? That's a very different question.
I think, too, the key is in the modern era, let's be real, and I'm guilty of it myself. Sometimes I look at after I do a video, and I'm like, God, that sucks. I'm like, you're just giving a bunch of picks. Like, you know what I mean? You're not telling people why or what. But if I do, the video will be 12 minutes, Rob. And then, in today's day and age, everybody, it's fast, right? And hell, my video that I think I didn't give you much information is 5 minutes, and everybody else. But so you get a million people out here that give you their props of the day and stuff, and they just rattle, they're 3 and 5 in the last whatever games. There's nothing to it. But I remember the late, great Dave Malinsky, like reading his baseball previews, it would make you smarter, Rob. Right? Yes, and there would be stuff that you could use, like take the team names out, but strategies, tips, and there's information. I find one guy, and I don't pay for his stuff ever, but I like his site, and I think he's good, is Dr. Bob, right? Like if I read Dr. Bob, I'm like, you know what? I actually got something out of that. Like, I think that's the substance. I guess it's the cliche. Don't teach someone, don't give someone a fish dinner, teach them how to actually do it. I think that's something that's missing in the industry too much.
And one of our old friends, Gabe, like Mark Lawrence, you read his playbook, he's got some like funny little jokes and his recipe for a champion and all the other stuff, right? Like when you read it, it's not just picks, it's like a comedy thing, and he has a couple
his
like
trends,
nice lines. Yeah.
And Mark's way is not for everybody, but that's one way, right? That, you know what I mean? Like he relies, he's a trendsetter, right? There's different ways.
Society as a whole, like this is a larger reflection of society, right? Everyone wants to consume short form content nowadays. Nobody cares, especially the Gen Zs, right? And I don't want to lump them all into one bucket, but it's like, it's very quick hitters. It's why TikTok is taken off and Instagram Reels and stuff, because they want short form content. It's the same with picks. They don't care about the reasoning. Do the work for me. Give me the pick. I will bet it. And that's it. And that's very different from the way I grew up, which was I wanted every piece of rationale as to why someone wanted to pick something. It's just the way that the world evolves. It bothers me. Like I see some people like tweeting at sportsbooks every night for refunds because their player got injured. I'm like, what is happening to the world right now? Like, imagine me back in the day tweeting, texting my bookie, sorry, not going to pay you. Vince Carter got hurt, left the game. It never happened. It's insane.
More with Rob Pizzola on the other side. This is SportsRage.
Brady Tkachuk saying that if his brother did miss that overtime period against Canada like we saw him do, it must be serious out there. And of course, Brady Tkachuk, not a doctor, but you've got to wonder the status of Matthew Tkachuk and what we're going to find out.
Game time for all of these teams and all these players that were, teammates. Now they're facing off against each other. Now they're back to being teammates, whatever it might be. Like, it's time to get things rolling back in the right direction.
HL today, only on SportsGrid.
We know the Knicks are talented. They're 37-20. It's not a bad season by any stretch. They're just not beating the upper echelon team.
This is the Knicks team right now. They're a very good team. And I'm a Knicks fan. You can't look at there and say, this team can win a championship. They're not good enough. They're not good enough defensively. Are we the New York Knicks or are we the New York Fugazis? Just forget about it.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
You have Duke the 1, Houston the 2. They're the two best defensive teams in the country. I want to see them play for the right to go to the Final Four because I think that would be a kick-ass game.
Duke is really great on both ends of the floor. They can score and they can defend, and that's why they win by big numbers all the time, because they're really good on both ends of the floor. I don't trust Houston's offense.
Pharrell coast to coast, only on SportsGrid. The Eagles got it done. If you back them, you're celebrating. Football season may be over, but the action never stops.
Are you ready for some baseball?
At SportsGrid, we're always in the game. We bring you 24/7 betting insights, expert picks, and real-time analysis. Next big play is already in motion. Are you ready? It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
All right, let's roll. We're into level 2, the quickest 120 minutes of sports talk and television. Sirius XM channel 159, just looking at the scores right now. We got San Diego State and UNLV ready to tip off. I was wrong the other day about Fresno and UNLV. UNLV got it done. They're 5-1 straight up in their last 6 games. They're playing their best basketball of the season right now. But San Diego State are also 5-1 straight up in their last 6 games. And they are a better team than UNLV. This isn't Nevada, who are kind of having a down year. There's SDSU generally have owned them, but UNLV have won 2 of the last 3 times that they've played. Cam said earlier he's taking UNLV. I'm going to take the San Diego State Aztecs to win this game. Arkansas are up 43-36 right now on Vandy. And what's going on in Eugene, Oregon? Indiana are up by 1 point. 64-63. I could use overtime because I got the over in this game as well as Indiana plus the points. All right, there's a lot of stuff I want to get to with Rob Pizzola. So we talked about the the touts and stuff, and as I stated, I don't think a blanket statement is fair either. There are some good people out there. And, there was a guy that owns one of these services and stuff, and it is true. This goes back, too, guys, to who's the godfather, pretty much one of the godfathers of all of this, and Jim Feist. And I remember I asked Jim, I said, so how you doing, Jim? How are the picks going? And he goes, good enough to sell. And he told me, he goes, it's not about, making money in this business isn't about winning. Like, he was on to it, Rob. He goes, it ain't about winning. He goes, as long as you don't lose much, it's about selling. And I remember talking to a guy that owns one of these big websites that, has a bunch of cappers under contract. And he told me, who the best ones are? He goes, this guy actually literally does win, like 65, 70% of the time. He goes, worst marketer ever, hates social media, doesn't know how to sell himself. So there are winners out there, Rob, right? Like I said, I did the show every day out of the sports book in New York at FanDuel when it opened, and there were dudes that just crushed the book every night, but they were quiet. They didn't want to get robbed, right? They didn't want people knowing how much money they had, so they used to play it down. But there are winners out there, What to you, Rob? What is a successful day or week in betting? What would you be your advice to people? As long as you're up at the end of the day, have a goal. Have a goal to hit. Living in Vegas before, there was, in the old days, it was more money at the time, but it was simply, hey, you make $200 a day, that's $72K a year, right? You know what I mean? That was sort of like at the tables. You double that. It's not impossible to make $400 a day, Rob. Suddenly you're making $144 a year, etc. What's your take on that?
Yeah, so I think you bring up a good point. Like, you need to first and foremost set realistic goals for yourself, right? Every bettor is going to be different. I mean, if someone who's capable of betting 8 hours a day and it's at their computer all day is going to have different goals and expectations than someone who's going to work and then's going to come home and bet for, maybe half an hour before the game start. For some people, and for a lot of people, the goal actually should just be, as lame as this sounds, just to make it entertaining and have fun. Mm-hmm. And the goal should be not to go overboard, because that just ruins sports betting for everyone. So if you're just a pure recreational bettor, get the thought of winning out of your head and just make it a practice for fun, right? Play your $2 lottery ticket every night. That's totally fine, right? But if you have expectations to win, it really depends on the time that you're devoting to it. So I personally hate when people track stuff in form of units, right? I'm up 40 units and this and that. It's like, what's your ROI, right? Because you could be up 40 units on 40,000 bets, or you could be up 40 units on 100 bets. And those are very, very different things. So for me, it's an ROI-based metric that I like to look at. I hate when people are up, oh, yeah, this many units this week. It's like, okay, how many bets is that? Because you could be up 12 units. I could be up less, but, like, it doesn't make a difference. Like, so I hate that.
Remember, Gabe, when you go to the battle, you go, what's in your unit? What's the unit size? Remember that time? It was amazing.
Well, Babano has 4 million bets a year. You see his record at the end of the year.
It's like, whoa!
3,202 and 2,701. No, it was Loshak. It was Loshak that got into it years ago. I didn't mean to. It was the Super Bowl with the Patriots and the Patriots and the Eagles when Nick Foles won. We were doing a show in Costa Rica at the casino. We all gave our picks before, and he was like, quarter unit on this prop, half a unit on this prop, and this. And I asked him, I said, just for the record, what's a unit? Like 100 or 2? Like, what does a unit size mean? And he goes, that's a pretty personal question. I said, it's not that personal. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I was like, it's not really that personal. I was like, how much? And I said, how much are you betting on the game? But he didn't want to tell me.
That's amazing.
That's
pretty personal.
There could be reasons somebody wouldn't want to reveal their unit,
exactly.
reasons or whatever. But someone asks you privately in the casino, hey, like, what are you throwing down on the game? You could even give them an estimate or like a range or something like that. You don't have to be like, I'm not exactly comfortable with that. But yeah, it's that, for me, it's about ROI, because for me, I like to bet high volume. I'm like Bobano. I'll place tons. I got like 100 NBA prop bets going tonight, right? Yeah. And I have that on average every single night. I'm looking for all these little edges that'll compound over time. That's very different from someone who's
that was Billy Waters' style, though. People don't realize that. Like, he would just freaking attack the board on a night, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like, just all over the place. And then at the end of the night, just say, all right, we won 280K. Good. Move on to the next day. Right? There's all different ways of approaching it. Let me ask you, Rob, because football is such a number-generated sort of betting sport. Outside of football season, what do you find? What's your favorite sport to bet on, or like where's the advantage? I would say UFC and MMA, but it's not for everybody, because it's hard for the sports books to really sort of computerize it. Hockey you could argue as well. It's sort of more random, but hockey is a random sport. We all know it. Anyone who knows betting on hockey. Basketball, I would say, NBA and college, man, these guys, it's like the NFL. Their computers have the numbers down so sharp, Rob. We only got about 2 minutes here, but what do you find is the best sport or your favorite, your more successful sport to attack outside of football season?
Yeah, so for people that don't know me, I'm a math guy, right? I run algorithms every day that generate my bets. I bet a lot of hockey because personally I found success with that, but it's a challenging market. MMA is a great example of a market that people should be trying to bet because exactly as you said, Gabe, it's really, really hard to model MMA fights. There's not enough data. A lot of these guys are fighting on like 5 career fights. What are you going to do with that? So that's a great one. But generally, as the limits get lower, you have a better chance to win, right? Like people want to bet the NFL and college football and NBA, but sportsbooks are taking huge bets on those. They're only taking like 500 on, potentially like a NASCAR event or MMA or something like that. So those are the best spots. If that's a good enough bet for you, attack markets that other people don't really even bet into.
All right, we got about a minute left here. You got a Stanley Cup future, Rob, for us, or a team or two that you think there's value on the board with?
I still like the Dallas Stars in the West as just like a good playoff team. I think that they're really built for the playoffs. You look at Edmonton, it's a lot of like high-end talent, bad goaltending. I think Winnipeg, I mean, we've seen Hellebuck shaken in the playoffs in years past. I'm not completely sold on them. So Dallas, to me, is very live in the West right now. East is more up for grabs. I don't even want to say the Leafs because it's so embarrassing and they're going to find a way to blow it this year. I just don't like, there's like no dark horse in the East for me this year. I think it's...
I'd love to see the Jets versus the Leafs. I'd prefer Canucks versus the Leafs, but I don't think it's going to happen.
Hey, Leafs versus Red.
So my team didn't win this weekend, but I still did with this app that's taking over the game. Sports Millions Pick'em lets you make quick and easy predictions. Pick your favorite players, go higher or lower, and you can still win big even if your team loses. Plus, the multiplier is insane. With just a few picks, you can win big money. So get on it. They've got a welcome bonus to help you start off your winning streak.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit.
They're 37-20. It's not a bad season by any stretch. They're just not beating the upper echelon team.
This is the Knicks team right now. They're a very good team. And I'm a Knicks fan. You can't look at there and say, this team can win a championship. They're not good enough. They're not good enough defensively. Are we the New York Knicks or are we the New York Fugazis? Just forget about it.
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
You have Duke the 1, Houston the 2. They're the two best defensive teams in the country. I want to see them play for the right to go to the Final Four because I think that would be a kick-ass game.
Duke is really great on both ends of the floor. You know, they can score and they can defend, and that's why they win by big numbers all the time, because they're really good on both ends of the floor. I don't trust Houston's offense.
Pharrell coast to coast. Only on SportsGrid. The Eagles got it done. If you back them, you're celebrating. Football season may be over, but the action never stops.
Are you ready for some baseball?
At SportsGrid, we're always in the game. We bring you 24/7 betting insights, expert picks, and real-time analysis. Next big play is already in motion. Are you ready? It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
The Twisted Tuesday continues. This is SportsRage. I am Gabriel Morency. Let's talk NFL football. Let's talk NFL draft. Let's talk NFL combine and more. Our main man, Rick Saratella, steps up and in. AllAccessFootball.com, the founder of the NFL Draft Bible. Rick, it's always a pleasure, my man. Let's do this thing.
Oh, baby. Combine time. What a week it was. Let's get into it.
So I'm always fascinated by how players can rise or fall with in mock drafts without actually doing anything, right? So what I want to ask you is, well, Cam Ward has distanced himself from Shedeur Sanders to be the top quarterback taken. Maybe not the number one pick, but the first quarterback taken in a National Football League draft. And now suddenly there seems to be the anti-Shador media push in which, he could fall into the 20s. It didn't go well for him in Indianapolis. And I'm thinking, he didn't do anything in Indianapolis. Like, he didn't work out. So what's going on in your opinion right now? Why is Cam Ward so popular, and why are the media going after Shador Sanders as much as they are?
Well, I think Cam Ward is just respected around league circles and the scouting community as the go-to guy, and I can't pinpoint exactly why that is. Maybe it's just games played and experience. I don't know, Gabe. I think the media side of things, he's been vilified, right? Like, Shador Sanders can do no right. I mean, this guy gets credit for doing nothing. If you watched any of his media interviews throughout the week, not just the podium interview, but all of his media interviews, this guy is mature beyond his years. I mean, this guy is like incredibly smart, intelligent, and that's not only off the field, but on the field. He's everything you want from a CEO quarterback. Now, he's made some rap videos, and he has a watch endorsement, and he's a 20-year-old kid. So I think the media kind of overhypes those kind of things. And, oh, by the way, he's the son of Deion Sanders, Coach Prime. But I don't know. To me, Shador Sanders is still the clear-cut one in my book. The NFL seems to value Cam Ward, and we're going to see, man. There's 50 days or so, 51 days until the draft. A lot can happen still.
Yeah, I'm not ready to write Shador Sanders off yet either. And I think a lot of it is actually planted by teams who want to see him fall so they could get him. I thought the same thing that you just said, Rick. In the interviews, when you watch him on a podium, he actually seemed like a professional football player already. And I thought personally, which nobody in the media really gave him credit for, is how many quarterbacks that are in the draft stand up and defend another quarterback that's getting ripped in the media like Will Howard was.
Yeah, I saw that.
I thought that showed like his character of, he said, and he actually, he went online. So he put his name on, he went on Twitter, and he said, right, you're all ripping on a quarterback that won the Natty last year. Not easy to throw to new players in a combine setting like that. I thought that showed a hell of a lot about his character personally.
Yeah, he could have just said, that's exactly why I didn't work out.
Or, hey, I'm a lot better than that. You know what I mean? Like, he could have, could have been a lot of things, right? Like, look at Travis Hunter's attitude coming here. Well, I think what I do is more impressive than Shohei Ohtani. It's like, all right, just calm down, all right? But it's just sort of, like you said, though, Shador's one of these people, he can seemingly do no right. Right, with the media, they've already made their mind up about him. Like, they want to see him fail. They want to see Deion fail. They want to see Deion fail.
And this is what happens when you hit March, because we build these guys up their whole career, really, like from Jackson State over to Colorado, and then you got all these months to kill leading up to the draft. If you remember, Josh Rosen, I think he was the number 1 overall pick. But if you remember, they tried to tear him down with the personality, the quirky traits. Is he an arrogant jerk kind of thing? And it might have turned out to be true, but these are the kind of things that happens leading up to the NFL draft. But I think it's overkill with Shador Sanders. I really do.
I think Rosen, when did Rosen actually go? I don't think he was first.
He was
he might have been 7th. 6th, 7th, but I get where you're going. That what though? I remember they said, hey, you always read the scouting reports. Nobody thought Patrick Mahomes was going to be who he was after, like what I'm saying. Justin Herbert, he's too laid back. There's always stuff, but so let me ask you about Travis Hunter actually, because it's pretty fascinating. This draft is so unpredictable right now. Let's say hypothetically Tennessee does not trade the pick. They take Abdul Carter. Cleveland Browns step up and take Cam Ward. Then you get the New York Giants. You and I talk a lot about the Giants. I'm not buying this Aaron Rodgers stuff, bro. I think the Giants would love to get Shador Sanders. So I got Shador going 3 to the Giants as of right now. Rick, what's your take?
Oh, I think if Shador is there when the Giants pick, they would absolutely do cartwheels. And I don't think they would shy away from drafting Shador Sanders, even if they signed and Aaron Rodgers, because I think you can get Aaron Rodgers for 2 years at about $50 million total. Never mind $50 million per what they wanted to pay Stafford. So I think you can get Rodgers $25 million a year, still draft Shedeur Sanders, kind of have that year of transition if they want to go that route. Now, taking Aaron Rodgers and drafting Travis Hunter is not a bad blueprint if you feel like you can win right now. We talked about this. I don't look at the Giants roster and say, hey, they're a blue chip player or two away. I think this whole team needs to be rebuilt from the foundation up. And we've been saying that, it seems like, ever since Eli Manning retired. So I think there's a lot of work to be done with the Big Blue. They should start with getting the quarterback right. And if that means doubling down like the Vikings just did with Sam Darnold and J.J. McCarthy, it's not a bad blueprint. Kirk Cousins, Michael Penix, not a bad blueprint to follow.
And I've heard the same thing as Rick Saratella just talked about. We just saw the Atlanta Falcons do that last year. So let me ask you about Travis Hunter. And I know we're coming up against it here with the break, but let's say hypothetically things go the way we just talked about like that, right? So you've got you've got Carter, you've got Ward, you've got Shedeur Sanders. That leads us into the fourth pick of the National Football League draft. And the New England Patriots, Travis Hunter is plus 210 to go to the Patriots, and he's plus 550 to go to the Jacksonville Jags. I don't think he gets past 5, but I'm not sure the Patriots go Travis Hunter. They could, but they have so many options. We'll break it down and more with our main man, Rick Saratella, on the other side. This is Sports Rage. Bring it.
Brady Tkachuk saying that if his brother did miss that overtime period against Canada like we saw him do, it must be serious out there. And of course, Brady Tkachuk, not a doctor, but you've got to wonder the status of Matthew Tkachuk and what we're going to find out.
Game time for all of these teams and all these players that were, teammates. Now they're facing off against each other. Now they're back to being teammates, whoever it might be. Like, it's time to get things rolling back in the right direction.
HL today, only on SportsGrid.
We know the Knicks are talented. They're 37-20. It's not a bad season by any stretch. They're just not being the upper echelon team.
This is the Knicks team right now. They're a very good team. And I'm a Knicks fan. You can't look at there and say, this team can win a championship. They're not good enough. They're not good enough defensively. Are we the New York Knicks or are we the New York Fugazis? Just forget about it.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
You have Duke the 1, Houston the 2. They're the two best defensive teams in the country. I want to see them play for the right to go to the Final Four because I think that would be a kick-ass game.
Duke is really great on both ends of the floor. They can score and they can defend, and that's why they win by big numbers all the time, because they're really good on both ends of the floor. I don't trust Houston's offense.
Pharrell coast to coast, only on SportsGrid. The Eagles got it done. If you back them, you're celebrating. Football season may be over, but the action never stops.
Are you ready for some baseball?
At SportsGrid, we're always in the game. We bring you 24/7 betting insights, expert picks, and real-time analysis. Next big play is already in motion. Are you ready? It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Twisted Tuesday continues. Sirius XM Channel 159, SportsGrid Radio and Television Network. And we were just talking, Rick brought up Josh Rosen before, who I actually liked a lot at UCLA. This kid was a gamer, leading big comebacks, getting hit, getting back up. And he got to the National Football League and things just imploded. But he was part of that stacked draft with Baker and Darnold and our guy Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson. But he was 10th he was 10th, and that was the year Baker went first overall, which at the time I thought was insane that Baker was going first overall. But nevertheless. All right, so as far as Travis Hunter is concerned, if you're the Patriots, you got big decisions to make. Let's say you're holding you got the fourth pick. You could go defensive line. You could go with a Pierce. You could go with a Mason Graham. You could go wide receiver McMillan, pair him up with May for the next decade potentially. Then you've got Travis Hunter. The debate is which side of the football is Travis Hunter going to play? And then you got the Jags with the fifth pick. And if the Patriots don't take Travis Hunter, I think the Jaguars would at plus 550. So the Patriots are plus 210 to take him. The Jags are plus 550. What do you think about Travis Hunter? Where does he end up as of right now?
There's no way he's lasting till number 5. He's the best player in the draft. So when you're building a team like the New England Patriots, you need to acquire as many blue chip foundational cornerstone pieces as possible. And when you start drafting need over best player available, that's when you start to make the mistakes. Travis Hunter is the best player available. You take Travis Hunter, you plug him in next to Christian Gonzalez. You got the best 1-2 cornerback dynamo in the league. And then, oh, by the way, they got no wide receivers on that team. You can create a package for him on offense too.
Well said by Rick Saratella. I have a hard time arguing. If you were in a court of law, say if I was on the jury, I'd be like, all right, I was pretty solid from the attorney there. Ashton Genty, team the draft. Ashton Genty, Cowboys plus 260, Bears plus 320, Raiders plus 320, Broncos plus 700, Chargers 12-1, Steelers 12-1. What are you hearing about Ashton Genty? How where does he get drafted in this draft? How long do you think he lasts?
I think he could go as high as the Raiders at number 6, and I would have a hard time believing he slides past the Cowboys in round 1. But I'll tell you what, Gabe, after watching this Omarion Hampton at 6'1", 225, running a 4.4 40 and a 40-inch vertical and being able to catch the ball out of the backfield and do all these wonderful things, there's some teams there that have Omarion Hampton as the top running back in this year's draft. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Hampton come off the board before Genty, although I do think Genty has the upper hand still at this point, unless he just unless his pro day is a debacle, right? Unless his 40 time is atrocious. I still think Genty will be in there, but we're going to get at least 2 running backs in the first round, maybe 3.
Yeah, Hampton's stock is definitely climbing. Rick, there's so much talk about this draft and the lack of quarterbacks, although Jackson Dart has definitely worked his way into a first-round pick, and you've been talking about him for a while, and you expected this, but, it seems like it's a pretty deep draft as far as, like, defensive linemen are concerned, and there's a bunch of DBs, sort of a meat and potatoes. I saw someone say it's a lunch pail type of draft, but one thing that sticks out, man, is these dudes that are like 6'7", 340 pounds are running the same 40s that Jerry Rice ran years ago. That's what stood out to me. Not you and I talked about like, Arian Smith and Xavier Worthy and the 40 times and all that. The talk of the town was really the 40 times of the big men that just killed it.
It's fascinating. Like a guy like Ja Joyner out of Minnesota is like 262 pounds, 6'5". He hit over 23 miles per hour during his 40-yard dash time, right? You got guys like James Pierce. I just said this on my last show. If you were to manufacture in a machine, right, and spit out the prototype defensive end pass rusher, James Pierce Jr. probably would spit out of that manufacturing operation. This guy's got bend. He's got dip. He runs a 4.4 40 at 235. Now, you're hearing character concerns. Some teams have removed him from the draft board entirely, right? So he can go in the top 10. He can go on day 3 from what I'm hearing.
Oh, that means the Eagles are going to get another guy in the second round then if everyone smears him.
Well, he's screaming Eagles all over him. But to your point, like Membu, the 325-pound offensive lineman running a 4.9 140, and all these guys coming in bigger, stronger.
Hold that thought, Rick.
Brady Tkachuk saying that if his brother did miss that overtime period against Canada like we saw him do, it must be serious out there. And of course, Brady Tkachuk, not a doctor, but you've got to wonder the status of Matthew Tkachuk and what we're going to find out.
Game time for all of these teams and all these players that were, teammates. Now they're facing off against each other. Now they're back to being teammates, whatever it might be. Like, it's time to get things rolling back in the right direction.
HL today, only on SportsGrid.
We know the Knicks are talented. They're 37-20. It's not a bad season by any stretch. They're just not beating the upper echelon team.
This is the Knicks team right now. They're a very good team. And I'm a Knicks fan. You can't look at there and say, this team can win a championship. They're not good enough. They're not good enough defensively. Are we the New York Knicks or are we the New York Fugazis? Just forget about it.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
You have Duke the 1, Houston the 2. They're the two best defensive teams in the country. I want to see them play for the right to go to the Final Four because I think that would be a kick-ass game.
Duke is really great on both ends of the floor. They can score and they can defend, and that's why they win by big numbers all the time, because they're really good on both ends of the floor. I don't trust Houston's offense.
Pharrell coast to coast, only on SportsGrid. The Eagles got it done. If you back them, you're celebrating. Football season may be over, but the action never stops.
Are you ready for some baseball?
At SportsGrid, we're always in the game. We bring you 24/7 betting insights, expert picks, and real-time analysis. Next big play is already in motion. Are you ready? It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Twisted Tuesday continues on the SportsGrid Radio and Television Network. Man, we've been stacked tonight, but we love talking football with Rick Saratella. So, Rick, as we went to the break, we were talking about the speed of these big men, and you were talking about James Pierce. One thing with James Pierce, though, and we have to admit this, you and I talked about him, and I've talked a lot with our SEC insider, Brent Beard, throughout the year. It's that classic, he does take a lot of plays off. You and I spoke about it during the year this year. I mean, there'd be games where he's not there. There'd be games where he was. Yep. And so I couldn't help but think about that when I saw him lighting up at the Combine. I'm like, yeah, you're getting it all right now. This is the money day for him, right? And he's really going to blow people away. But talk to me about that, Rick. I'm sure you've seen the same thing, right? You and I have watched Tennessee Volunteer games, and sometimes we didn't hear his name called.
132 career quarterback pressures, 19 and a half career sacks, right? There's a lot of sacks left on the table. In other words, he needs to learn how to finish. But that's the thing. Like, he's got the athleticism, the bend, the dip, the rip. That's where the war room conversations become interesting, because the general manager or the personnel or the area scout comes in and say what you just said, Gabriel Morency. And then you get the defensive line coach or the defensive coordinator or the Rex Ryan in the room that says, yo, give me that guy. Don't worry about nothing. I'll get it out of him.
But
right?
then you got a guy like Mason Graham. I know they're not the same, same player, but you got a guy that really doesn't take plays off. Like Mason Graham's just sort of that grinder, that constant. Different players, both great players, right? No. But that's a debate that has to be had in a war room, right?
Well, and a great compare and contrast, because if you stood them up side by side, you'd think Mason Graham was a garbage worker. Right?
I love what you just said. I was going to think, or a janitor that used to play football or something. I saw him next to exactly. I talked about him. I saw him next to Stacey Dales, and he wasn't that much bigger than her, actually. And number one, Stacey Dales played in the WNBA, so she's a pretty big woman, right? She's tall. But you're right. Mason Graham doesn't have that. He doesn't have that, that impressive body type. Like, he almost looks like Saragusa, except you know what I mean? He sort of got this round sort of thing. But you're like, oh, wow, he actually is 6'3", He was listed 320 at Michigan. He was listed 296 at the Combine. But I'm just stating those are the debates that have to be had. Yeah, Pierce looks great. He looks the part, right? Yeah. He'll sell more calendars, right, if you want to put him on the cover of a calendar. But who's going to help us win more football games every Sunday?
Yeah, and, I was waiting for Stacey Dales to just, post them up like Karl Malone during that interview. But one thing I want to get out there, though, that makes you question some things. Jahad Campbell out of Alabama, I thought he was going to be an off-ball linebacker, but you see how he was used with the Crimson Tide, situational pass rusher, 4.45 40. I think now teams are thinking about Jahad Campbell as an edge rusher. And to your point, if you like to build from the inside out, inside the trenches, this is the draft to do it. It gets knocked for the star appeal, the lack of quarterbacks, but there's depth, tremendous depth at a lot of different positions.
No, we kidded about the Philadelphia Eagles and James Pierce, but the Eagles, have done a great job of this about drafting players that have fallen in the draft due to character concerns. And they say, we'll deal with it once the player gets here. And or a player that is underachieved at the combine and or in their last year of college football. But I think the Eagles also, they're proving that they are the best run football team in the National Football League now, in my opinion. And look what they do with Saquon Barkley, right? I mean, the debate goes from, teams, they don't want to pay running backs to the Eagles pull the trigger. They bring Saquon Barkley in. They win the Super Bowl, and what do? They reward them, right? They're giving them a $40 million plus extension, highest paid running back in NFL history. That sends a message out to other players in the league. Not only do they win, but they take care of their players after.
They take care of their players. They do it in advance. Howie Roseman's a captologist. He runs
always a year ahead, or a year or two ahead, right?
That's
Getting the deals done.
That's right. And he's just running circles around these guys in the draft. I want to speak to the point, though. You said they bring these guys in the locker room. They've had a lot of veteran leadership, but it's starting to depart the locker room because they just cut Darius Slay. They just cut James Bradbury. Fletcher Cox used to be there. Jason Kelsey's no longer around. So they had all these veteran leadership guys in the locker room to kind of reel these guys in that were a little had some loose bolts, right? So that's something to keep an eye on. But when you talk about identifying talent and developing talent and being ahead of the salary cap, Howie Roseman is the standard right now in the National Football League.
Now, as far as other quarterbacks in the draft, Rick, at the combine were concerned, didn't seem like anybody really blew anybody away. Kyle McCord did some good things. I thought Will Howard, there's always going to be a video or something like that, right? So some, people put together a compilation of Will Howard overthrowing, underthrowing, wide open receivers. But at the same point in time, he also made a lot of nice throws. And I know he impressed a lot of people through the interviews as well. But what about, there was a quarterback that seemed that really did struggle was Dylan Gabriel. For whatever reason, couldn't get into a groove in Indianapolis. And what wild times, too, huh, Rick? With now the crowd cheering and people in the stands and stuff like that. I mean, it would be Bill Belichick with his binoculars.
Yeah, it's a different dynamic. It's kind of hard for me to still get used to it.
The players are getting the fans into it and stuff. It's it's almost like a TV reality show now or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you kind of get the reserved golf clap after the 40-yard dash.
And then the big guy runs fast, and everyone's like, "Ah!"
I
call it strip. The afternoon strip club the golf club.
Well, I think believe it or not, the ratings have only been about 225,000 average viewers coming into this year. So they're trying to do something to liven up the combine. I think that's why you're hearing talk. They might move it, but in terms of draft, Super Bowl, all the NFL, we talk about NFL is king and they dominate. The combine ratings have been slacking. They're trying to find a way to kind of liven it up.
Not everything has to be a show, though. You know what I mean? That. This is where we're going. What's next?
It's the underwear Olympics, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I know. It's it's a couple of days. It's a job interview, and you know what I mean. It doesn't have to be this show, but that's the world that we're in right now. All right, Rick. So bold predictions right now. Quarterbacks, you got all the quarterback shuffle is about to begin. What do you think is going to happen with Aaron Rodgers when it's all said and done?
Well, I think Aaron's going to stay right here in New Jersey. I do believe the Giants and Aaron would be match made in heaven. And I do think the Giants would also take Shedeur Sanders, whether that's at 3 or at 1. I think is to be determined, but I could see that. And
that's, you talk about reality TV show. That's a lot of ego.
yeah. Hard Knocks was a year late on the.
Wow. For the record, the Giants are the overwhelming favorites right now to get Aaron Rodgers. -150. Pittsburgh Steelers +400. Las Vegas Raiders +550. Tennessee Titans, who we've always thought, is the team to keep our eye on here, +700 right now. Colts 12-1. Colts 12-1. That's an interesting team right there. And then you got the there's other teams. I don't think the other teams are in the mix.
I could see a Russell Wilson to the Colts based on Chris Ballard and the Shane Steichen's comments this week in the Combine saying Anthony Richardson's going to have to earn his starting job. I think Russell Wilson would be a great fit there.
Yeah, you know what? That's they don't want to give it to him on a platter, right? I guess that was the thought process, that he already thought that he earned the job. A couple of years ago, Rick, the Ottawa Senators were all 19 to 20-year-old kids on the team, and they were really bad. And the coach said, all these guys on the team are all just happy to be in the NHL, but they don't know they're not going to be here for much longer. Right? So, that's sort of the Anthony Richardson. I'm the starting quarterback. Not for long, Ken. If you don't know what a playbook, if you're taking yourself out of games. Great stuff as always with Rick Saratella. Bring it.
Brady Tkachuk saying that if his brother did miss that overtime period against Canada like we saw him do, it must be serious out there. And of course, Brady Tkachuk, not a doctor, but you've got to wonder the status of Matthew Tkachuk and what we're going to find out.
Game time for all of these teams and all these players that were, teammates. Now they're facing off against each other. Now they're back to being teammates, whatever it might be. It's time to get things rolling back in the right direction.
HL today, only on SportsGrid.
The Knicks are talented. They're 37-20. It's not a bad season by any stretch. They're just not being the upper echelon team.
This is the Knicks team right now. They're a very good team. And I'm a Knicks fan. You can't look at there and say, this team can win a championship. They're not good enough. They're not good enough defensively. Are we the New York Knicks or are we the New York Fugazis? Just forget about it.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
You have Duke the 1, Houston the 2. They're the 2 best defensive teams in the country. I want to see them play for the right to go to the Final Four because I think that would be a kick-ass game.
Duke is really great on both ends of the floor. They can score and they can defend, and that's why they win by big numbers all the time, because they're really good on both ends of the floor. I don't trust Houston's offense.
Pharrell coast to coast, only on SportsGrid. The Eagles got it done. If you back them, you're celebrating. Football season may be over, but the action never stops.
Are you ready for some baseball?
At SportsGrid, we're always in the game. We bring you 24/7 betting insights, expert picks, and real-time analysis. Next big play is already in motion. Are you ready? It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
All right, this BYU-Iowa State game is legit crazy right now. We're into double overtime. I don't know. I think it's probably going to go to triple overtime. It's a 2-point game right now in double overtime. Unbelievable stuff, but it's a nightmare for both teams. In reality, what do you get out of this? You know what I mean? Besides run your team into the ground, someone's going to be upset after they lose this game. It's it toughens you up. It's they're already tough enough. This time of the year, these are the type of games where when it gets almost like a baseball game, when it gets into the 16th and 17th inning and stuff like that, even though it never does anymore with the ghost runner, but once in a while, It's like we better win this game because this is going to ruin the rest of our week. Like, we're going to be tired. Our bullpen is shot. This is one of these games, but a lot of stuff I want to get to. Hot button issues right now. Mo Khan steps up and in to do it all. Mo, good to see you, Mo. How you doing?
I'm well, Gabe. I'm actually fasting, so it's been one of those tough adjustments going through this process. But
Ramadan?
We're trucking along, my friend.
You're like a Akeem. Well, if Akeem Olajuwon could do it and play basketball, you could do it and do the show, Mo. I got faith in you.
Yeah. I got 10, 15 minutes with you, no problem.
But I got happy Ramadan. So I got I've got faith. I've got faith in you. So yeah, listen. Speaking of which, there's been a lot of controversy. It started in the Four Nations with the booing of the national anthems, and it's not stopping. Right, it's continuing. I think that the tariffs. I think the Lutnick, the Secretary of whatever of Commerce, whoever, basically said, expect an announcement tomorrow. I think we're going to roll the tariffs back after one day. But a lot of chaos and damage has already been done. And I said at the time, the Four Nations guys, I said, there's going to be fallout from this for a couple of people. Like, it's hard to turn this stuff on and off. And some people take this stuff seriously. And a good example now is like Brady Tkachuk in Ottawa. Like, he was not happy the other night when the U.S. anthem was getting booed, right? We know how patriotic he is. So I'm just stating, like, he won't be on. He's going to want to get traded. This stuff will have ramifications. Austin Matthews was much more diplomatic about it during the Four Nations. And I commented at the time, I said, yeah, he's smart because he knows he's the captain of the Toronto Maple Leafs. He has to sort of thread a needle here. But it's not going to stop. And we saw it you're a big wrestling fan. So, with the Elimination Chamber or whatever the hell it was the other night in Toronto, it got heavily booed. Pat McAfee said Canada was a terrible country. And I don't think it was part of a wrestling shtick, actually. He was mad for real. Yet the WWE, definitely knew it was going to happen. And I think they did it for shtick, right? And they got the pop, they got the controversy, they got the headlines with Pat getting mad and everything. So that's one thing. And I'm not going to get mad at McAfee for saying something on a freaking wrestling show. Like, it's like getting mad at JR for saying puppies. Look, the puppies. Right? It's like, it is what it is. It's wrestling. Right? So, like, I think Cam's mic, there's Cam's mic. It's wrestling. Like, people are all mad at him. It's like, dude, it's wrestling. Like, anything that's said on a wrestling show is kind of like fair game, man. Right? But I tweeted today, I said, I think the NHL, to calm this down and not have people talk about it and get back to talking about hockey every night, would be to just play the local national anthem. If you're in MSG, play the damn, Star Spangled Banner. If you're in Canada, play freaking old Canada. I think it would solve a lot of problems. I got overwhelming. Like, I had a ton of responses to this. I didn't expect the firestorm that I got. And I was surprised. Everybody basically said, why do we play the national anthem in pro leagues? It should only be in international sports. Cam, should they play the national anthems before NHL hockey games?
I'm kind of with the people. I know this is an unpopular take, but no, I don't think you should. I do believe in international competition. It's both national anthems. It's the pageantry, but you know what, Gabe? It's one of those things. Just play the damn game. Like, it's one of those things that I don't think you really need a national anthem, and I think more people would prefer it, but it just takes up time. And I just play hockey. You don't need national anthem.
I think older people, I think, prefer it because they see it as a tribute to service, and that's the whole point. All right, like, so thanks, for people that fought for us, so so we can play this, game. But Mo, you see in Europe, you're a soccer fan as well.
Yeah.
They don't do it, right?
Yeah.
And they realize, listen, it's just going to start like, well, let's just don't do it and only do it in international games. But I got a great response from someone today, and we had a ton of them. And for the record, even our boy George Kurtz said he doesn't know why they play anthems at pro sport events. But somebody had a good idea and said, just drop the anthems and have say a moment of silence for fallen vets in the military in the past. And people aren't going to boo that. And then just sort of move on and have player introductions and introduce the other team and let people take their hatred out on the players as opposed to the anthems. Where do you stand on it, Mo?
I could care less for anthems, to be honest with you. You know, when I'm calling games, I'll stand up, respect that, but I'll have my head set on, talk to the producer. Okay, what do we have next coming up, right? I mean, and, you know, when you look at it this way, guys, when you look around you during an anthem, there's a good number of people who aren't stopping what they're doing, taking off their hats, respecting the anthem being played for the U.S. or Canadian anthem out there. So the reality is there's a lot of people who don't care for the anthem and don't understand what it means as a patriotic value symbol for whether you're from the U.S. or from Canada. So at the end of the day, unless it's being sponsored by a betting company, there's no need to have the anthem be played before games because, quite frankly, it just doesn't add anything to what's that going to do for you? Nothing at the end of the day. And, you know, for the NHL, you have to wonder now, what are they going to say moving forward here? Because there'll be more U.S.-Canada games coming up in the next few weeks here. Are they going to
won't stop going into the playoffs.
Exactly.
That's
Your
what
idea is good, Gabe. It's a good idea.
Yeah, but the thing is, it's feeding the fans. It's fueling the divide. The media loves this stuff. Like, you know what I mean? Both the Canadian media, oh, look how patriotic Canadians have become. And the American media is like, look at these scumbags in Canada booing our anthem every night and doing it even louder. You know, and it just, I would say, like, you know, out of unity in the NHL, be like, listen, out of unity, we're not going to do the anthem right now. But then people are going to say, oh, you're wimping out and you're sellout and you're woke. And they're kind of damned if they do and damned if they don't. But there's one person to blame for all of this. And it's not Gary Bettman.
Brady Tkachuk saying that if his brother did miss that overtime period against Canada like we saw him do, it must be serious out there. And of course, Brady Tkachuk, not a doctor, but you've got to wonder the status of Matthew Tkachuk and what we're going to find out.
Game time for all of these teams and all these players that were, you know, teammates. Now they're facing off against each other. Now they're back to being teammates, whatever it might be. Like, it's time to get things rolling back in the right direction.
HL today, only on SportsGrid.
We know the Knicks are talented. They're 37-20. It's not a bad season by any stretch. They're just not beating the upper echelon team.
This is the Knicks team right now. They're a very good team. And I'm a Knicks fan. You can't look at there and say, this team can win a championship. They're not good enough. They're not good enough defensively. Are we the New York Knicks or are we the New York Fugazis? Just forget about it.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
You have Duke the 1, Houston the 2. They're the two best defensive teams in the country. I want to see them play for the right to go to the Final Four because I think that would be a kick-ass game.
Duke is really great on both ends of the floor. You know, they can score and they can defend, and that's why they win by big numbers all the time, because they're really good on both ends of the floor. I don't trust Houston's offense.
Pharrell coast to coast, only on SportsGrid. The Eagles got it done. If you back them, you're celebrating. Football season may be over, but the action never stops.
Are you ready for some baseball?
At SportsGrid, we're always in the game. We bring you 24/7 betting insights, expert picks, and real-time analysis. Next big play is already in motion. Are you ready? It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
This is SportsRage. I am Morency. Like I said, it's an interesting, topic. Like I said, I believe they're going to dial down this whole tariff thing already. The stock market crashed, and I saw today the Lutnick, the Secretary of Commerce or whatever, was talking about, expect an announcement tomorrow. We'll see. I don't think it'll die down though. Like the NHL. And it's overshadowing the games. That's the problem. The NHL has a trade deadline coming up. So, Mo Khan, we only got a couple of minutes tonight, Mo. We were up against it tonight. But Speaking of the Canes, been an up and down year for them, but it's a little bit of up right now. Post Four Nations face-off. What's the buzz of Montreal right now? Watched the game the other night, and there was an energy in the arena that hasn't been there for a couple of years.
Right.
Just basically because the team doesn't suck, right? Like people, you know what I mean? Like I watched them play, and I was like, you know what? I know Buffalo were terrible, but I watched them play versus Buffalo, and kids in the stands were happy. Everybody was smiling in the stands. There seems to be a positivity around the team right now.
There is. They re-signed Jake Evans today to a new deal.
Instead of trading him, you're right. Everybody thought he might get traded. Yeah.
Right, and that lessens the angst about are they going to sell, keeps them in the conversation. They're only point off from the wild card spot, and that's what Habs fans want. Whether they make the playoffs, it's gravy for them this year, but the reality is they want to be relevant going towards the end of March into April because, guys, since the Cup run, they've not been playing any good hockey since October of every new year, right? So I think at this point now for Habs fans, the optimism is at a yellow right now in the traffic light department here. And if they do make some moves in the summertime, that's where I think the biggest thing will be for Kent Hughes and Jeff Gorton is getting some better equipped players that can play in the top two lines and some impact players with so many draft picks to work with. I think the Habs will be very busy this summer to make themselves a lot more respectable next fall.
You know what? It even is affecting. I wanted to ask you because the CF Montreal are in Vancouver this Saturday, and it's even affecting like the MLS now. Like people in Vancouver, they booed the anthem the other day, and it pissed off the captain of the Vancouver Whitecaps. He scored the winning goal, and then after he goes, I was happy for the fans, or at least the ones that didn't boo the anthem. It's like, oh, God. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's kind of like, it's just going to keep going, man. Imagine the playoffs, too, in hockey, right? That's why I really hope that it's like two Canadian teams in the Stanley Cup Finals. It silences everybody.
Good luck.
But, I'm just upset, America. So that's I really want to happen this year. But CF Montreal, Mo, is it as bad as it appears from far? The Whitecaps are minus 209. The Whitecaps have won their first two games to start the season for only the third time in franchise history. They're actually rolling and look pretty good, the Caps. CF Montreal do not so far, Mo. What can you tell us about CF Montreal as the MLS season started?
They're very twitchy right now, a young team in transition. They are the type of team that develops and sells at the end of the day here. But for owner Joey Saputo, you have to wonder because he's very twitchy when it comes to sacking managers and whether or not he might go in a different direction. If he does, I think it would be his eighth new manager he would bring in since they brought the team to the MLS back in 2012. So I think they get out of this funk. They get out of this funk here, guys, but I just think it'll take some time for them. But will it be too little too late if they don't catch up? Because, again, these games will come in thick and fast for them. If they fall behind the wayside here, they might not make that conversation of being a wild card team, if not a low-end playoff team in the Eastern Conference.
Man, it's baffling to me that Saputo doesn't spend money on players for that team. I don't get it because he'd sell tickets like people that have fans, right? Like I understand Vancouver.
He's been questioned about.
Yeah,
he's been questioned.
Yeah, like the Vancouver Whitecaps actually have a challenge, right? Like they don't have a lot of revenue and stuff like that. They don't own the stadium that they play in. They got to rent it. Like there's a lot of sort of issues like that, and they find a way. But the impact, Whitecaps rolling right now. So hell of a basketball game tonight. Quick update right now: the Clippers are up by 10 on the Phoenix Suns. The Pelicans are hanging around the Lakers. Lakers are winning 80-71 right now. College basketball, really close, Cam. San Diego State and UNLV 34-32, sort of as expected.
Yeah, totally. And Gabe, I know we're on the Phoenix Suns. They were getting murdered. Maybe they can come back with a late run. And I'm
on the Clippers.
You are. Yeah. I thought
no, I'm not on the Suns. No, I'm on the LA Clippers. No.
I'm the only insane one. I took the Pelicans, too, plus 8.5. Sorry. Yeah, we're dumpster diving tonight. They're lingering.
No, the Suns are a train wreck. And the Clippers have actually been playing pretty well. Kawhi's playing well. They've been playing pretty well. They lost the last two games to the Lakers.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. This was one of those. They're due to win. Like it was just, for the record, BYU ended up winning 88-85 in double overtime. Cash the tickets, baby. We'll see you on the Wicked Wednesday. Later.